Ladies and gentlemen, it is 11 p.m. Central Time, 12 a.m. Eastern Time, and I don't know what time it is those other sides of the hemisphere because I'm Mississippi, and us Southerners don't really think about anything other than ourselves and our football. But anyway, that means only one thing. You're either bored and alone, or you're here for some serious late night conversation. And that's what we're doing. This is Real Conversations with Justin and my co-host, Big Jefe, directly from Off the Cuff podcast. And looks like in his mom's basement. Is that right?
That's right.
But welcome, everybody.
She let me be here for a little bit.
She let you be there. Are you in timeout, sir?
I'm in
Are you in timeout? It's okay. This is a safe place.
Okay. She's not looking. It's funny you mentioned that.
Oh.
Because this is a show about, or this particular one I want to do is parent guilt, right?
Okay.
So if you wanted to, do you want to say anything first before I?
Well, I'm just letting people know,
babbling.
We all expect that, but this is a forum, unfiltered forum that allows, us to have discussions about things that are generally deep and need to be talked about. And sometimes we don't feel like we can talk about it, or at least we can't talk about it comfortably without fear of being reprimanded or having stones hurled at us. Like this past week's episode, we talked about the fact of your choice as a person to either get a vaccine or not get a vaccine, mask, no mask, what have you, and just how people are treating each other in general because of it. We felt like that needed to be addressed. So each time we come on here, we're going to be addressing something that is a hot topic and usually is the center of a lot of, I guess, controversy and can draw some heat. But the difference between us and everybody else is we do it respectfully. So, Big Jefe, Jeff, if you would, brother, introduce us to the topic tonight. This is something that you wanted to talk about. So I'm going to let you do the talking, and then I will throw my 2 cents in, or however much it's worth, and hopefully between the two of us, we can put together a good show.
So first I want to say thank you. If anybody's watching out there, it's great. Thank you. Secondly, so the topic tonight is parent guilt. So the weight that you carry as a parent when you have so much to be responsible for. You have a little human, right? Or a few humans. Some people have 8 humans, 3 humans. I know a guy who has 8 children, by the way.
That's a village. That's a village, sir.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's going to take 2 villages to raise that. But
yeah.
But yeah. So I have 2 kids, and I think a lot of people that know me, if they know me, they know about my children because they're the center of my life, right? So, and why I brought this topic up is because there's times, like I told you before, Justin, that you're trying to be, a dad has a role and a mom has a role, and I feel like that's different roles. I mean, they're the same, but they're different, right? I mean,
right.
And as a dad, I just, I didn't have one growing up. I didn't have one present growing up, and I'm totally over all that. I mean, I wish I had a dad, but but I'm past the pinnacle of I guess thinking that something is different in me because I didn't have a father. I do believe, though, that having a father is very important, and having a mother is very important, and them being present is also important. So this topic stemmed from an incident I had with my kid about 2 days ago.
Okay.
And I'm usually a pretty tough, I know I don't look like it, but I'm tough on him. Uh, I'm a big teddy bear, but I'm also, really wanting my kids to learn life lessons. And I think that that's what dads do. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
it like I said, I didn't have anybody to model myself after. I did have uncles. I have about 7 uncles. I think, yeah, 5 of them are left. 2 of them have passed, but I didn't see them a lot growing up. Um, but the ones I did see, they were not really father figures. They were more just cool uncles,
Yeah.
people to talk to. They're like, hey, little kid, you're my nephew. Okay, go play. But then again, that was also the 80s.
Right.
People drank their beer, and they adults were over here and the kids were over there. So it was like,
Yep.
only
Everybody.
time we really went to the adults was, man, he hit me.
Oh yeah.
Okay, rub
Yeah.
rub some dirt on it. You're okay. Go ahead and play.
Yeah.
So, but but nowadays it just seems like, I don't know if parents took a different turn as far as being in kids' lives more, which is a good thing. I don't know if I'm the only one that's noticing that, or if it's just because I'm noticing it because back in the 80s, I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I didn't really look at that. Um, so anyway, the incident with my child, with my boy, he's 8 years old. And as a father, I feel that it's my duty to kind of lay down the law, I guess. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so he decided he was going to talk back to his mother in a more than uh, undesirable way.
Right.
um, and I just snapped, and I disciplined him very harshly. So to the point where I never really did that roughness, and he cried, and he had to get on the bus. It was the morning, and I just totally felt like crap all day long. And so that was the guilt that I felt. But in general, I feel that because I started thinking about it, I think that, parents feel a guilt, feel a pressure, definitely feel the pressure. And we think that we're not doing a good job. We think that, like me, I don't know what to do. I never had a dad to show me, that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, they grow fast. So when they grow up, you may you may think you didn't do a good job, but then you look at them and they do things, right?
Yeah.
That you're like, wow, I was okay. Maybe they were all right with me,
Right.
But of course, as humans, we don't want to pat ourselves on the back. We are the parents. We're supposed to do things for them. We're
Right.
supposed to take care of them. Supposed to make sure they're fed, clothed, happy. If they're sad, gotta talk to them. Got go through them with them, right? And that's just what I feel a parent is. And anyway, but I don't want to ramble. But yeah, that was the incident. Um, and I started thinking about it, and that's why we're here with this topic. So,
Right.
what do you say about the? Do you feel do you feel like guilty sometimes that when it comes
Well,
to your kids?
uh, pressure. The only pressure I feel like if is that if I don't do the right thing, I don't stand up and correct my kid. One of the things you just mentioned is the you have such a small amount of time, a small window to really shape who they're going to be and prepare them for becoming an adult. So I feel like with that being said, you have such a small amount of time to instill within them the right values, and if you don't do that, it could have disastrous effects. My dad, I grew up with a two-parent home, in the 80s where, that still happened. My dad was very strict, very strict guy. And of course, as kids, you're not going to understand why your parents do what they're doing. The only thing that you see as a kid, oh, you're mean. You don't want me to have fun. That's not fair. And to be honest, we all don't really get what our parents do for us until, man, for some of us that are in our 20s or even 30s, when that moment comes where it just clicks and it's like you have that, oh, okay, moment. But that's why I feel like the pressure for me is don't shy away from doing what's right, even if it means upsetting your child, during the temporary moment. Do we want to discipline our children? No, not parent. I don't see a parent that wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I want to ground my child today. You know what, I want to spank my child today. I want to take away their video games. Or no, I mean, in our hearts, we don't want to, see our kids upset. But the thing is, too, when those times come, like you mentioned, where a kid's going to mouth off to a parent, they gotta know, they gotta have those boundaries. They gotta know they can't cross those boundaries. And I think there's a lot of parents out there today who are allowing their kids to talk to them and other adults any kind of way. And I fight that battle myself, and when we were growing up, you just didn't do it. There were some serious
Yeah.
consequences if you did that. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think too many parents are shying away from the discipline aspect. They don't want to deal with it, or they try to make some kind of excuse as to why they shouldn't do it, and they avoid it altogether. And it's creating this monster, so to speak, within their kids. That if you don't do something about it now while they're still little, as they get older, it's going to be harder and harder to be able to rein in. I'm dealing
Right.
with the same issues I got a 9-year-old, daughter, and I will say, a lot of people in her family are very lax and when it comes to discipline, and they don't really allow her to face any consequences for what she does. They would rather not deal with it, or they try to explain away negative behaviors, and or enable those behaviors rather than
Mhm.
tackling them head on and dealing with them immediately.
Right.
And it's hard when you're a parent who's trying to do the right thing when the entire role of disciplinarian gets shifted on you, where you're big bad dad. You're the mean. You're the heavy parent.
Right.
Where it, it's
Or
just
mom.
it doesn't work. You
Yeah.
know, um, if the kid just sees one parent as the mean parent, it's not going to help them to grow and to learn anything if both parents aren't enforcing that.
And you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I'm I had noticed a big change because a few years ago I of people saying I was too hard on my son or my daughter, and excuse me, and I was upset about that. I was like, that's my child, that's my kids. Go ahead and have your own and discipline them the way you want to. But I was really tough on them, and then I just decided, you know what, I want to ease back a little bit. And then I had buddies, I used to talk to, and one of them said, "No, no, no, don't ease back. You're his father, you're her father. They're supposed to respect you and this and that." I say, "Yeah, but it's getting to the point where they're just fearing me, and they're just behaving because of, oh my God, I'm gonna get beat with whatever whatever they think. You know what I mean? He's gonna be mean to me. He's gonna take away my games. He's gonna do this. He's gonna do that." And to your point, my wife was one of the people that were like, "Jeff, you have to calm down," you know. And of course, I was going through issues around that time, when my daughter was little and all that. And so I was tough on her as well. And she was like, she's only 3, she's only 4, whatever, don't be so rough, or don't be so hard on her. And so fast forward to now, my wife and I have learned to kind of come together as parents versus me being the mean one or being seen as the mean one. She totally can you there I am. Sorry about that. My phone just did something weird.
That's okay.
So yeah, we're actually we're now in sync more than we were before, and which is good because my kids are to the point where they're 8 and 11, so they're starting to get their own opinions about things. I said opinions, didn't I meant opinions
Yeah,
about
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I always correct myself as I go though. But yeah, it's just it's needed for both parents, I think, to be on the same page. But yeah, I still feel that guilt. And this is what made me, about the story with my son, what made me feel even worse. All right, he gets on the bus, he's crying or whatever. He's hiding behind his hoodie. You know how they have the
Yeah.
hoodie in nice weather. But anyway, uh
Yeah. I don't get
kids, I
that.
don't get that.
90 degrees outside, they're wearing hoodies.
Exactly. They have these hoodies over. I don't
No, I
know.
don't understand it.
Must be a new thing for them. I don't know. But he gets on the bus, all day. I'm like, I'm at work and I'm remote from home or whatever. So I'm working and trying not to think about it. But it keeps coming in my head, like, man, I could have definitely handled that better. And I talked to a couple of people, a couple of my good friends, and they helped me through it in a way that it didn't make me feel as bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I know, like you said, I didn't wake up thinking I'm gonna go ahead and discipline my child very harshly today. You know what I mean? Um, so he came back from school, and I thought, oh man, how am I gonna even act? Like, am I gonna be able to look at him in the face? You know what I mean? Like, I just felt like I did him so wrong, so dirty, and that's my little buddy sometimes. You know what I mean? And I know I'm his father, and it's just really hard to. It's a thin line, I think sometimes. But anyways, that's just my situation. Uh, so yeah, he comes home from school. I actually, and I know a lot of people on here. I don't know if they're probably going to say this was not a good idea to do. I wrote him an apology letter because it was so harsh. Because you know I shouldn't have done what I done. You know, I could have disciplined him. There's discipline, and then there's going overboard. And I know I definitely went overboard. I physically disciplined him. I put my hands on him. You know what I mean? And that's something that was done back in the '80s a lot
Oh yeah.
by
Oh
different
yeah.
parents, and not even and nobody blinked an eye.
Right.
And now it's like you can't even. Sometimes you yell at these kids, and like the store, you'll have some kind of Karen coming out coming out of somewhere saying, "Hey, you should treat your kid better." Are you serious? Like, if somebody said that to me, which has never happened, but people have looked when I've
Well,
disciplined my kid at the store, but they never said anything. So I was like, okay.
well,
But
it's the general consensus now. I mean, like you said, if you take away, like back in our day when we were allowed to spank and in schools paddle. My dad had the rule: if you got it at school, you're getting it when you got home, and
yeah,
nobody thought anything different. If you acted up at a neighbor's house, they could spank you too, and then they call your parents up before you even got home and tell them what you did, and then you get the same treatment there.
I think that's where that whole village thing came in, right? It takes a
Yeah,
village
but
to
as
raise a
kids,
child.
we just kind of thought, that's the way it is.
That's
If
the way
we
it
mess
is.
up, we're going to have to answer for it. But
And I have these stories, for my kids, and they always go, because I started off with when I was young, and they're like, oh Lord, here we go.
Oh yeah,
He's gonna talk about when he was a kid. Dad, that was like 90 years ago. Of course, we're old as hell to them.
Well, trust me. Back when I was coaching, when I was in my 20s, my football players thought that I was ancient, and I was only 25 years old. So yeah, their idea of age gaps was completely just warped. But yeah, no, we live in a society now to where you can't even verbally correct your kids without being reprimanded. That's just the way it is. Matter of fact, I think now in the military, drill sergeants and superiors aren't allowed to be verbally confrontational.
Wow.
To the privates, which is absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
It
is because that was the whole point of the whole military.
But that puts kids in a huge disadvantage. If they're not corrected, or if they're not made to fear consequence, then how are they going to grow? How are they going to be once they get to the real world?
They'll be
and they're having
anarchists.
Well, exactly. And then everybody's scratching their head. Well, I just don't understand why he's like that. He came from a good home. I just don't understand, blah, and so on and so forth. And too many parents now try to make excuses why they're not parenting. And that's a big issue. They try to explain away why they shouldn't verbally reprimand their child, why they shouldn't discipline their child in some way. And they want to give their kid choices or put them in a timeout. No,
man,
you don't do you don't do that.
That bothers me.
And kids, even if you're teaching the right things in your own home, kids are more against that because their peers are being given choices. They're being told, what your parents are doing aren't right, because that's just the way society is now. And I don't understand why that all changed, because a lot of it changed for some reason with our age group, and we came from the generation where we were righteously disciplined, and it didn't bother us. I mean, yeah, we got our feelings hurt. Yeah, we were mad at our parents for like a day maybe or whatever, and then we got over it, and life went back to normal. And
a lesson was learned from it.
Lessons were learned, and we're not in jail. We're not making committing crimes. We're not doing anything crazy, and and it also translates.
We knew of the consequences.
we do. And it helps us to adjust in every aspect of our lives, our personal lives, relationships, jobs.
Right.
A lot. This new generation coming up getting jobs, man, they can't hold them because they're not disciplined. They don't fear consequence. They don't want to be told what to do.
Right.
But then people are sitting around scratching their head, not understanding, why things are the way they are.
And that's what I told my wife too. When we were having these issues back and forth, I was telling her, listen, you can't just wait until they're 12, 13, 14 years old and then try to jump in and say, you can't do that, you can't do this. That's just not going to work.
They'll look at you like you're all kind of crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got a third freaking ear popping out your forehead or something. And I told her, I said, don't look to me and say, where were you or whatever, because I'm here. My dad wasn't there. My mom laid down the law, though. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I didn't, look, people that know me, they know that when you were talking about jobs, it's kind of funny to me. I chuckled inside because I used to say that when I was in my 20s. I don't fear the consequence of losing my job. I was acting like one of these spoiled brats, you know what I mean? And so, but I think I came a long way. I still, my work life is something else that maybe we might discuss one day. I don't know. It's like I saw a meme the other day. Hey, what's up, Clipper?
What's up, 17 Clipper? Glad to see you with us tonight.
So my work life, like I said, I saw this meme the other day. It said, "F my work life," and that's how I feel. But that's because I'm not doing my passion, which is this. You know what I mean? For a
Right.
living. So anyway, but on to the other topic. The guilty. I wanted to finish the story from last. I'm sorry. The guilt that I felt really badly was when he read the letter that I wrote to him, the apology letter that I wrote to my 8-year-old son for physically punishing him. And he turned it over. Well, first he came over to me and he said, he hugged me, right? Which that right there melts your heart. He
Yeah.
hugged me and he said, "I love you, Dad." And then he took the letter and he said, "Do you have a pen?" And I said, "Sure." And I gave him a pen. He wrote on the back of it something, and then he gave it to me and he walked out. And it said, "I'm sorry too, Dad." And man, bro, I was like, I didn't cry. Not
Wait,
to say that men don't cry, men cry, and it's okay. But no, it just lump in the throat kind of moment, and I was just like, wow, maybe I did raise a good kid. Maybe I am raising a good kid because
well, if he took that opportunity right there to say that, that means that he
he
actually
owned
knows.
up to it,
He
man.
owned up to it. He knows what he did was wrong.
Yeah,
And that is although you feel guilt about disciplining, the thing is, you're teaching the right ways, or else he wouldn't respond in that way. My battle with my daughter is she doesn't feel remorse for what she does unless she gets caught for something and has something taken away. There's a difference
right.
between
No,
being sorry you got caught and being sorry that you genuinely sorry and remorseful, for what you did. And and that comes from having two parents that are working together to implement that right mindset into these kids. My dad was the tough guy. My mom was more the soft person, but that doesn't mean that she backed down. She supported my dad, but just did it in her own way. You
and
know,
that's how my wife is right now. Where to be honest though, and I don't mean to cut you off, but that made her sad. What I did made her sad as well. You know, and and so it did. It made her sad. So it made me even more sad because now I've made my wife upset. I've made my kid upset. Now the whole thing turned out okay. I mean, but he has been saying things, and at 8 years old, I don't think that these things should be said.
well,
He's been saying
absolutely.
stuff. He's been stuff saying. Well, no, I meant not the bad stuff that he said to his mother, but after when he was in his room, and I don't know if it was for attention or what, but I went in there and I talked to him for a little bit, and I said, "You do understand what just happened today, right? I mean, I am sorry, but at the same time, you did something wrong because you said you're sorry too." And I told him, I said, "You're a bigger man than daddy. You know, you handled it very well. You know that you did something wrong and you're going to do better, right? You're going to try to do better." And he goes, "Yeah." But he said he wants to die. Sometimes he feels like dying. Now, I don't know if, because I was like 8 years old, I thought about it when I was 14, because you're teenage angst, you're like,
Oh
oh, I'm
yeah.
going through so much crap. I want to die. But not at 8 years old. So, so I felt like I did that. I don't think so. I don't know.
No,
There's other times I think he just wanted attention. But I spoke to him until he fell asleep, and that was that. He cried himself to sleep.
well, you can't put that. You can't put that on you. For trying to do the right thing. And there, I don't think there's really necessarily an age um, limit to where they feel that type of way. And a lot, sometimes it is a manipulation to try to get attention or get you to change the outcome into their favor.
Hmm.
Um, and it, there, you know, and as a parent, yes, you can admit when you're wrong, but then when you're in the right, you can't back down from that because the kid will see that. And kids are smart, and they can manipulate that to work in their favor for next time. They pick up on cues and clues about what's going to work and what's not going to work. Because, you know, I see that in in my situation. You
with
know,
your daughter.
but my daughter knows that dad is the guy who doesn't put up with stuff. You know, he's the disciplinarian, but she knows the mama's going to bail her out. She knows the excuses that mama makes for her, and she listens to that. And then when the time comes, she will throw those things, you know, out because she knows those are trigger words
Right.
to get her out of trouble for her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next thing you know, the trouble she was in is over, and anything that dad tried to reprimand is completely disregarded. And then later on, when of course she lives with her mom, and and I'm by myself, except when I have her. When she's acting out and out of control, then all of a sudden her mom doesn't is over it. She's tired of it. She can't do anything with her. And guess what happens? She calls me. I can't deal with this. You need to come over here and handle her, blah, 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 blah. And my response is, no, I'm not. I can't, because our daughter knows that I'm going to be the one who's going to do it. Where the problem lies is she knows you aren't. And it's not going to stop until you do something and she sees that you're going to do it. Because all she knows now is that dad's the bad guy and that mommy will always get her out of something. And what mommy says will always trump what daddy says no matter what. And that goes back to that goes back to your point of where parents are supposed to be coming together on these things.
Right. I want to address 17 Clipper.
Okay.
And thank him or her for saying that it's the world we are living in that makes him feel that way. And I thank you for that. I kind of agreed with that too. You know, the world that they live in, or that we live in now, is so much different than the world we grew up in.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, there's a lot of things, and he does a lot of gaming, and I try to monitor it as best as I can, but
Right.
Xbox Live and all that, and he might be talking to somebody, and I tell him all the time, you don't add anybody who you don't know, but when I'm not in the room, obviously he's going to go and do it, right?
Absolutely.
So he's playing. Every time I go in there, he'll say, "Well, how long are you going to be here?" I'm like, "What are you hiding?"
Yeah, exactly.
Giving yourself away, kid.
Question it.
Right. And I'm like, "Well, who's D Money?" So, he's like, "Oh, it's just a guy, it's just a friend. How old is he?" "Oh, he's only 8. He's 9 like me, whatever,
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't mess with me now. But I think that they learn things from other people as well, that maybe another kid had said this stuff,
Right.
And you can tell, and I think it's true. The world we live in too, my daughter looks at TikTok a lot, right? And there's not always good things on TikTok
No,
for
sometimes
kids.
no,
So
not at all.
not at all, exactly. So we gave her this permission. We go, okay, you're 11, you're close to preteen, you are preteen, you can, look at certain things. And boy, I think that was a mistake, because she comes out her room after being there for, 14 hours.
Yeah.
We finally see somebody that resembles our daughter, and she comes out and she talks to me in TikTok terms. And then she'll say, "Nah, bruh, I'm just chilling, bruh. First of all, I'm your dad. You don't say bruh to me."
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I say bruh if I want to. You don't
yeah.
say that.
Right.
So, but and then the whole makeup thing, she's getting into the makeup, and I told her, I said, "You're beautiful. You do not need makeup." And of course, that doesn't work because you're my dad.
No,
You're supposed
your
to say
dad. Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah. So no, but it's definitely, just to get back to the topic though. The guilt is there, as far as, I think, if you let it, if you start feeling like you should back up, which I think you're right. You should not feel that way. You're a parent, and this is why I think we have such self-entitled children out there now, and teenagers, that we have backed up too much, as parents. And even if we, and I guess the message I'm trying to send is, even if you go through the guilt and you feel the pressure, the weight of all that, of being a parent, that's called being a parent. And
Yeah,
it took me a while to learn that and to understand that. So yeah, there is going to be guilt, but we're parents. and that's what comes with the territory, right?
right,
um so like you said, I do think that, I do agree with you. I think there's too many people that just, you know, let them do what they want, make excuses for their behavior. For instance, I'm not going to say any names, but I went over to someone's house, and they had a teenage daughter at the time. Maybe she was like 15, and it was in our family. So that's why I don't want to say any names,
I
but it
got
was in
you.
our family. We went over, and our family, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm from, well, Puerto Rican descent, from New York City. So, but we went over, and Puerto Rican families, it's like kiss, kiss, hug, hug,
Right.
love you, miss you, all this, everything is so, it's like Italians. It's like, just a lot of touchy feely, right? Well,
Right.
some of the children that are in our family are like my kids. They're half white, half Puerto Rican. The Some of them are half black, half Puerto Rican,
Right.
and they don't have the same, they don't want to do all that. And it's not just race. I'm not trying to bring race or ethnicity into it, but
Kids just think
just the fact that,
kid thinks
yeah,
it's, it's
they
embarrassing. It's weird.
right, they think it's overboard. They think it's like,
Yeah.
what? That's crazy. I'm not gonna hug and kiss you. Get away from me, especially teenagers, right? So anyway, I went into his house, and all the family's downstairs. She's upstairs, and I don't know if she's on her period or something's going on. She's just in her room. She does not come down. Usually in our families, we were taught to get out of your room and go say hi to the company, and
Oh yeah.
don't just don't just burrow yourself, you know, in your room, and not say anything. That's just rude.
Right.
Well, I said, so where's your daughter? He goes, oh, she's a teenager. She don't she's upstairs. She's doing something. I don't know. And it just seemed like, really, you're not gonna tell her to come downstairs, say hi to us? Like, that's, to me, that was kind of rude, of him. you
Well,
know.
yeah. I mean
But
that's the way we were raised. We were taught, as kids, we don't have to sit there and carry on conversation all night, but we did have to make an appearance. We had to be respectful and say hello to everybody, and then
yep,
and when we're done, go back to doing what kids do. If the other kids were there, we go play with them, but we dang sure we're going to acknowledge the adults.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's, look, when I was 15. Oh, I like that. You added that, didn't you?
Oh, I did.
Off the cuff podcast. That's awesome. Thank you, sir. So, when I was 15, I remember being in my room, and yeah, you do go through this whole teenage thing, right? So I put this thing on my door. It's like caution tape, right? But it's, instead of caution, it said disaster area, enter at your own risk. And I thought that was the coolest thing because I was 15. I
Oh
thought I was
yeah,
cool,
yeah.
you know. And my mother's friends would come over, right? Particularly one friend, and she would say, "Disaster. Hi, Disaster. Come out of your room, Disaster." She just called me, she nicknamed me Disaster.
Nice.
But it was with love. She was joking about the fact that I was all stuck in my room. I didn't want to come out. So
Right.
I would come out and say hi and everything, because that's, like I said, that's what we're supposed to do. And then I would go back in the room. I'd say, "Mom, can I go back in my room?"
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I look, my family, I remember they used to go as far as, remember you said, the kids should come out and say hi and then just go do whatever they want to do, whatever, play or whatever. Yes and no, because that happened. But then there were times where I went to people's houses and the female in the family, like a daughter, would have to serve other people, like serve the guests. Like, would you
Oh,
like something to drink? Would you like something to eat? I'll serve you. I'll fix you up a plate. And that is totally gone now.
oh yeah.
but that was kind of cool. That my mom never really made me do. But if somebody asked for a drink of water or some pop, soda, whatever you call it. I'm in the Midwest now. We call it pop, but you know, they're forcing me here to call it pop. No. Uh so she would be like, "Yeah, get him a glass of water." You know what I mean? Make
Right.
sure it's nice, get him a napkin, just. But yeah, I have a bunch of cousins who actually came out and they would serve us drinks and they would be the kid just like me. And I'd be
Oh
like, "Whoa,
yeah.
that's interesting." But yeah, I'm sure down south they have a lot of I don't know about now, but I know, the whole
Well,
country gentleman thing and
yeah. I
dames.
mean, to some degree, yeah. If somebody, when I was growing up, my parents didn't, have us wait on people hand and foot, but some families did. That's just, depended on the family. But I guess kind of on the same lines, they were teaching. My parents did, and my generation did. They were teaching us to clean up after ourselves. And I see a lot, and if we made a mess, clean it up. If we took something in our room to eat, bring back the plate and the trash, throw it away. And now I see the parents waiting on their kids hand and foot,
Oh yeah, it's almost like it reversed.
and it
It
reversed, and the kids are have the parents running around following orders, and that's another battle I'm having with my daughter.
take me here, take me there, do this, do that.
Oh yeah, well shoot, no. I mean just simple stuff.
Worse than that.
Simple stuff like I'm
Okay.
thirsty. Okay,
Right.
and that's our cue. That
Well,
and
fridge is right there and you got legs.
yeah, well, yeah,
Right.
or I'm hungry. I want a snack. Go get me a
Oh,
snack. I'm like,
yeah, that's a big
go
one.
get your own snack. Go get your own drink.
See,
You know where it is, but the problem is, you know, everybody else in her world are
does it
waiting
for
on
her.
her hand and foot,
Yep.
and they are enabling this behavior.
So she's
And
expecting everybody to do it.
yeah, and they make up excuses as to why they have to do it. Oh, she's too scared to go in another room by herself.
Oh, I hate that.
She's 9 years old. She'll be 10 in July.
Yeah,
No,
no.
no,
That's
you don't do that.
and that's the thing that I battle sometimes with my wife as well. She'll say something like, "Well, it's too dark in the room, and just go do it for him." No, let him face his fear. It's just the dark room. Turn the light on. You know? I mean,
Right.
but like you said, it's enabling them to continue this whole behavior, and it's not good, man. It gets worse. Now, my kids will say, like my daughter and my son, they'll tell me, you know, "Can you get me a snack? Go get me a snack, please." And they'll do it smiling like I am.
Yeah.
And because they know it's not what we normally do for them. It's just go get it your damn self. You know.
Right.
Now, another thing that they do though that they throw back in my face is the fact that I'm kind of lazy. So if I'm
So,
sitting there watching a football
but
game or
you're the adult. You can be lazy.
thank you. That's
That's
what
the
I told them.
thing.
I earned it. I
You know,
earned it. I said, when you
and,
have children, you can make them get you the remote and get you a Pepsi.
and then the
Pepsi.
worst thing we can do is sit there and try to argue with them about it. The thing is, no, you don't argue with them about anything. And these kids think that now that they can argue about anything and like little lawyers and then try to negotiate. And it doesn't work that way.
You know, that's funny you said. I actually told them, I tell my kids all the time, I go, you better be a lawyer or some kind of, paralegal or something because you guys argue so well about. I'm not going to stand here and explain it to you. You just do what I say. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of I don't always feel guilt, because I know that parenting is parenting. I just have to sometimes, with that particular incident, I just felt like overwhelmed about it. And that's why I need people like you to remind me, dude, you're the father, man. You're the parent. Because sometimes I get into these roles where I play buddies with them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, oh, you're my best friend and all this stuff. I'm saying, I'm showing it though. And maybe they're getting it a little mixed up. You know what I mean? And sometimes I tell them, listen, I may play with you because dads do that. We may, we have more fun than they do with their mother. And we
Yeah.
just play. We play in the bed. We've been doing this since they were babies, playing in the bed, tickling them, all this stuff. But I told them where I draw the line is when I tell you to do something, you go and do it. You don't stand there and question me. You don't say, bruh. No, there's no bruh. I will, like you said, a lot of times when we were young, we have to, okay, wait, hold up. Let me, 17 Clipper.
Yeah.
You have to also remember these kids are being robbed of their childhood because of the nonsense going on. Yeah, I understand, but what do you think about I don't know. That's true to a certain extent. But from what I'm talking about right now, it's the fact that I am a buddy to them or whatever. I got your back. I always tell them that. I hug them, kiss them, do all the things that you're supposed to give them as kids. Love.
The whole
You ever seen
nurturing
somebody
part.
you go, yeah, exactly. You ever seen somebody and say, damn, did you not get hugged as a child? Because you're a total asshole.
Right.
Yeah, so you can censor that if you want.
It's funny.
So you know what I mean, though. So yeah, I understand. Kids are being robbed of certain things in their childhood nowadays. They got more. I guess you could say. Hopefully, 17 Clipper put something else in there about what they can, what they mean by it, so I can kind of go on that. But as far as being robbed of their childhood, maybe they know a lot more than us than we did when we were, like they have the internet, they have so many things that we can't even hide from them no more. My kid, watches movies like Scarface.
Oh, wow.
He's 8 years old. I mean, listen, I always remind them, movies are fake. Okay. My mother, we used to watch a movie when we were young and it had like blood in it or something, she'd say, that's ketchup. That's ketchup.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it. It's ketchup. And,
Well, dude,
my sister,
I was watching
ahead.
Friday. I was watching Friday the 13th when I was a kid. So I mean,
I saw Freddy Krueger and stuff when I was a kid too. Yeah, I had a 7-year-old. I had a 7-year-old cousin at the time, and I was like 12. She watched Nightmare on Elm Street over and over and over.
Yeah.
She was 7.
That was us, and then we had woods by our house, and instead of playing hide and seek, we go out and we either would have the hockey mask like Jason, or like in part 2, he had this like little cloth bag and put it over our heads, and one person would be Jason, and then everybody else would have to hide, and we have to go find them and tag them out. That's what we did. But
dude, nowadays, have you seen some of the games they have on Xbox?
Oh
Man,
yeah,
the graphics are so awesome. But my kid has a Jason game. He loves Jason.
the Jason game is
But
awesome.
yeah, have you seen it? And he
Yeah.
goes and kills people. He's like, I'm the killer. I'm gonna go. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? You know, but he loves it. He plays this other one called Dead by Daylight,
Yeah.
and they got a hook, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
just gruesome.
It
And
is.
when I was a kid, the thing that scared me was the howling. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it was a
I remember
werewolf.
that.
Yeah, werewolf movie, and it was just all the nails and all. It was the way they turned into that stuff would scare me. These kids don't scare easy.
Well,
So
they're exposed to a whole lot more and a much
yeah, yeah, and I
higher
think that's what
level.
17 Clipper meant. But
But I guess when we were coming up, we had a filter on what we could be exposed to because our parents were limited. Whereas now, like you mentioned with TikTok and social media, video games, and being able to talk to anybody and everybody all across the world, and you honestly, do you really know how old they are? You really don't.
no, exactly, you don't.
And
They could tell you any age.
a lot of kids and youth today are being
Mm,
shaped by their peers and everything that's outside of the home.
right,
And that's also where they're finding their identity. They're finding their identity based on what their peer groups are saying, or what's trending, what's popular, um, or what they're made to believe to think, rather than having a mind of their own and having self discovery. And parents are stepping aside and allowing those
them to
things to
learn from
shape
them.
them. So, in that regard, yes, 17 Clipper, I do agree to your statement. They're being robbed of their childhood because, yes, they're being told what to do and how to live, how to think, who they really are by everybody else and anything else, rather than us, the parent. And that's where we got to pick up the ball that we dropped and take
Right,
ownership and not feel guilty about it and not backtrack on it. Yes, and yes, it does hurt us when our kids cry. It does upset us to see them upset. But the thing is, though, it's all about the greater good, the end, not what's going on right now. And that's why we can't let parent guilt overcome us and shape what we're called to do, especially those of us, from the Christian faith. We're called by God, spare the rod, spoil the child, and train them, to be godly men and women. And again, I'm not trying to force my beliefs on anybody. That's just my perspective on it. It's a spiritual calling for me, to take that mantle that's been passed on to us to train the kids the way they're supposed to go. And no, I don't enjoy disciplining my child. I don't enjoy taking things away. But the thing is, I want to make sure when she's older, she has respect for people. She's not in jail. She's not in and out of trouble. And also, she knows how to take care of herself. And 17 Clipper, where you say I pray for the mental health of the children, that's where we as parents have to step in and instill the right values, the ideals, and thought processes within our children, instead of, like I said, allowing the outside
to influence
culture,
them. Yeah,
the peer groups, social media, and everything influence their minds. We
yeah.
had to we have to put that base, those roots in them first, because if we don't, that's where the breakdowns happen.
And I totally agree with you. I just want to say that, because I know there's going to be people that think like this. It's not it's not easy to do, and you didn't say it is, so I just want to make that clear. You just said that's something we have to do as parents, if I'm understanding you.
Yes.
We have to take the reins of that, horse cart. I guess I don't know what,
Right.
but you know what I mean. So I understand what you're saying, and also I I do know that it is difficult. But it's something that we really do need to go back to, man. A lot of parents have dropped that ball, and it's not good. It's you're failing your child. I hate to say it that roughly, but
Right. And like
um,
17 Clippers said, young children should not be contemplating suicide, but they are. And that's where, like I said, we as parents, as their
that's
leaders,
what.
as their mentors, um, we're supposed to step in and give them the right type of mindsets. We're supposed to instill discipline, but we're also supposed to instill the right ideals, the right morals. We're also supposed to teach them to love themselves. That's part of
Yep.
those responsibilities we were talking about.
Yep.
And a lot of parents are shunning that because they don't want the responsibility of being parents. There are so much lazy parenting going on. That's why a lot of these kids are being failed. I realize we're coming towards the end of our show, but when I was a coach at a middle school, when I was living in Birmingham, I also worked with the kids during the day. And I formed great relationships with not only my players, but the other kids as well, both boys and girls. And they were always coming up to me and talking to me. And when they had problems, they wanted to talk it out. They give me a hug and things like that. I don't think anything about that because you see, that's how I was raised. You're raised by a village. That's how the neighborhood was when I was growing up. That's how my church was when I was growing up. That's how my youth group was when I was growing up. So, I'm carrying on that ministry. That's, my ministry to them and being there for them. And I was being reprimanded by other teachers because of it. And some of them had the nerve to come up to me and say, Coach, you're not their parent. You're not their friend. You're not their pastor. And they named a couple of other things, and I stopped them right there and said, no, you understand. For some of these kids, I am. Because they don't get that at home. But, that's just me. That's my calling. But, too many parents are also being lazy and placing that burden, that cross on the shoulders of their teachers, their coaches, or whoever whatever mentor they might have, rather than doing it at the house.
Right.
That's not. They should the coaches, the teachers, the youth pastors, or whoever is providing that positive teaching should be an extension of what you're already doing in the home.
Correct. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, like you said, we're coming up at the end here. Oh man, thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that, 17
Yeah.
Clipper. But
That
again,
means a lot. Yeah, and by the way, speaking of parents, I think I just saw my mother comment on on Facebook. So shout out to my mother if she's watching.
oh, I didn't even see any on here, but oh, okay.
No, not on here. I just saw it on my regular device.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, I totally agree with you, man. And I think that's also why people love to be grandparents, because they don't have to deal with a lot of the stuff that the parents do, that they already had to do. But that's another issue right there. But
and that's what and grandparents, that's what they're supposed to do because they've already done the raising.
Exactly.
They're just there to be the grandparent and be the loving, people they are, and slip you some candy here and there, or a couple of dollars, or they'll just jokingly say to you, "Oh, your parents are just being so hard. Quit being hard on them." That's just what grandparents do. But
that used to annoy me in the beginning. By the way, I was like, "You see that woman right there, kids? That's not the same woman that raised me."
it's one of those rites of passage things. It's just one of the,
She earned it. She earned it.
But
They earned it.
yeah, well, folks, this is definitely another topic we could go on and on about. But we're we're hitting our ceiling here. We definitely can continue it. But before we go, as I move into our closing segment, if you ever have anything that you want to talk about, we definitely encourage you to make it known to us. And if you hadn't already subscribed, please subscribe. Like this video, comment. share, get the word out about what we're trying to do, and we hope it can be used to help others. But like I said, if there's anything you ever want to talk about, please email me, justinriley7 at
Good night. Good night,
gmail.com.
17 Clipper.
Good night, 17 Clipper. Email me, justinriley7 at gmail.com. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, well, we definitely will add it to the show. Before I go on with what is on the CTS, Jeff, if you would, man, tell people how they can contact you, and also tell them about Off the Cuff podcast, and where they can find it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm on Instagram at Big Jefe 75. That's BIGJEFE 75. Some people say Jeffy, but it's Jefe. All right, it's Big Boss. It's what it means.
Big boss.
Big boss of me. That's all. I'm not a boss of anything else. I'm also on Facebook. Jeff Big Jefe Cologne. That's COLON. Yeah, it looks like colon. But you can find Off the Cuff on Anchor. The Anchor app, you can go in there and Off the Cuff, which is OFFDACUFF. And we do that podcast. We're hoping to get back on the third season, man. Just got to get with Yulika. So
I got you.
But if you want to check out the last two seasons, they've been great. We have about 32 what did you say? 17 Clipper said, I appreciate you guys a lot. People are afraid to tell the truth. Oh yeah,
that means a lot.
People, and thank you. Yeah, but yeah, you can definitely go on. I put it here on Facebook sometimes, on Instagram, on Anchor. My podcast can be also found on Google Podcasts. What's the big one? Spotify. Yeah. So, yeah, just subscribe to this though, man. This has been real conversations. Literally woke with Justin and Big Jefe.
And what we mean by literally woke is we're literally awake at past midnight, talking to folks. So kind of a play on words there.
Yeah.
What nights are you usually on? Do you mean Jeff's podcast or what we're doing here? 17
my just to let you know, 17 Clipper, my podcast is not live. It's pre-recorded. So if you're talking about that show, that's just on whenever you go to Spotify and type in Off the Cuff podcast with Big Jefe and Yulika. Maybe I'll drop a link down into the YouTube, the CTS interview room channel. So, but this show we're trying to do every Saturday night at midnight. Eastern Standard Time is midnight. 11 p.m. would be Central, right?
Right.
And where you are. And Pacific Time would be 9 o'clock p.m. So that's California and all that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate.
Hope that answered your question, 17 Clipper.
Yeah. If not, just shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to answer your question. As far as me, us, like we've mentioned, we're part of the CTS interview room. Joey Lozada, thank you for being our producer and making this happen. Please like and subscribe on the CTS interview room. We have several other shows. On Thursdays, you got the 3rd and 3 with Joey, Stingray, and Clemson Tom. It's kind of a comedy sports show where Joey and Clemson Tom go back and forth with each other and argue and play fight. But they also have some really good interviews with celebrities here as of late. They have former Washington football team quarterback Jason Campbell, WWE legend Mickey James, 8-year NFL veteran John Copeland. That's just to name a few. And then on Fridays, what's that?
I'm sorry, didn't Stingray have Eric Bischoff at one point?
Yes,
from wrestling?
Yes,
that was awesome.
Yes, that was awesome.
And also, yeah, on another podcast, I saw Snow. Remember Snow? What was his first name? I forgot his first name, but he
Al
used to have
Snow.
the head. Al
Al
Snow.
Snow.
He used to be called Head.
Yes, yes,
Anyways,
yes.
but go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Stingray Scoop is on Friday, where Stingray, the internet sensation, gives his weekend review of sports. And then you got me. Of course, Real Conversations is weekly, but I'm also part of a bigger podcast, and that's the Bama Standard.
Bama Standard.
And what that is it's Alabama football focused. It's me, comedian Steve Brown, senior analyst at Touchdown Alabama Magazine, Stephen M. Smith, and former all SEC linebacker Marvin Constant, talking about all things Alabama. But also, we have Alabama Legends on every week. So we'll be interviewing them and diving into their careers and giving you answers to questions that you've always wanted asked, and also giving you revelations of things you never knew about them. Matter of fact, let me give you a quick clip of what you can expect.
George Teague and Antonio Langham say they carried the team in '92. They say you and Jay didn't do nothing. They say y'all were just there.
Yeah, they it worked hand in hand because we carried them against Florida. They were getting beat like a drum against Florida. You know what I'm saying? Kept us in the game. And Antonio Lane gets the most valuable player when he's getting beat the whole night. He makes one play and he's the most valuable player. Where did they do that at? I give him
hey, is anybody recording this? Anybody recording this?
Hey,
I got it.
I tell Antonio that all day. I
said,
hey,
look,
wait a minute, hold on.
I'm just telling you what they said. I'm just telling you what they said now.
But yeah, that's a little bit what to expect. We're every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Be sure and check us out. And we got one more clip on one more statement from 17 Clipper. Yes, Alabama did handle their business tonight against Miami. Roll Tide. That is definitely a victory that I was excited to receive and dish out, especially after all the trash talk that went on leading up to that, both by the Miami fan base and their team. So always glad to give them a little dose of humble pie. On a sad note, if you did not know already, outside linebacker, one of our outside linebackers, Chris Allen, was injured tonight, and he is going to be out for the rest of the season. I hate to deliver that news, but yeah,
terrible.
I hate for the young man because he's a guy that really has battled his entire career there. 2 years ago, he suffered a season-ending injury, was able to come back and be at full health last year, had a great year. He decided to forego the NFL draft and come back for his senior season, only for this to happen. And just my heart goes out for the guy. But anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in. And for those who are going to watch the replay, definitely share with everybody and let us know your thoughts. And we will be back next week. Well, Jeff, I appreciate you coming on with me, man. It's fun as always. Looking forward to doing it again.
My
yes,
pleasure.
sir. Have a good night, everybody.